Hola clase. So I'm just going over what's going on in Blackboard right now for this coming Monday. So for today, Thursday, el primero de octubre, you guys were supposed to take your family member quiz. Remember, it's right on Blackboard here. So it says quiz on family members. It's available. And then you are also doing this Identifica los miembros de la familia. That is now in a format where you can open it and submit it right on Blackboard. So you just want to finish the sentences. And then you do have some work in MindTap. You're going to go into Gramaticales dos. And then you are also just going to preview the lexicas, those, which is the second vocabulary. It shows here that also that I have you guys doing fill in the meanings of the AR verbs and fill in the chart. So there is a bunch of AR verbs, which are here. It says fill in meanings of AR verbs. If you open that, you will see that I'm just asking you to tell me what these verbs mean. You may need to look them up. And then it says use your knowledge from class this week. So when I do the conjugations with you after class today, it should be a little bit more familiar what I want you to do with this chart. Just like we conjugated ser, when we said yo soy, tú eres, we are basically doing the same thing. We call it like a six pack, but it's all the six conjugations of any verb that we conjugate. And when we say conjugate, we're just talking about taking the verb from the infinitive form, and we're going to be taking off the AR and adding endings. And that's basically the work. So I will be going into that lesson today with you, but this is an overview of what you have due by Monday. And this is just a quick review of your possessive adjectives. So remember to say my, we either say me for singular or mis. And your formal would be either tu, no accent, or tus. And then su for you, inform or formal, like if you're saying your house and you're talking to somebody older than you, or sus. And then his or her. Remember I said su and sus are the hardest working possessive adjectives because they represent a lot of different people. Sus. Then we have four forms. We have either nuestro or nuestra for female and male, singular. And then we have nuestros. So if something is ours and it's masculine singular, like nuestros carros, we're going to say nuestros. But if we had something like casas, our houses, it would be nuestras casas. There, like if it were like a boy or a girl or together and you say their house, it would be su casa. And then if it were their houses, it would be sus casas. So remember, su and sus can mean different things. And then y'all is either going to be, we said su again, su casa or sus casas, same thing. So su could be for that one. There is also vuestro and vuestra. So vuestro is the vosotros form, or if you're from Spain, so you could say vuestro or vuestra. And then you can also say vuestros and vuestras. It's just another way to say y'all in Spanish. You either have ustedes or vosotros. So what I want us to do now is we did not finish these last translations. So I would like you guys to do this translation with me now. So we have our family. So we just need you to translate that. So that for that one, it would have been nuestra, because familia is family, and then we want a familia, and it's one, so we'd say nuestra familia. So now it's your books. If we know that books are libros, and we want to do the informal version, it's going to either be tu or tus. And because it's libros, it should be tus libros. Their sister. So we know hermana is sister. To say their sister, it's going to be su hermana. My mother. So madre is mother, and we either have mi or mis, so it's going to be mi madre. His school. Remember, su is for his or her, and then escuela is the word for school. And then her class. So the word clase is class, and then we're going to say su clase, her class. So those are the answers for that activity. So remember, in Spanish, when I ask you the question, ¿Cómo eres?, I'm asking you, what are you like? ¿Cómo eres? And we can respond with soy or yo soy. Yo soy inteligente. And then I could say no soy perezosa. I'm not lazy. Because I'm a woman, I'm going to say perezosa. So I'm asking you guys a question now. ¿Cómo eres? What are you like? And I want you to tell me what you're like and what you're not like with one sentence. And I do have some adjetivos. I have antipático, antipática, mean. I have atlético, atlética, bueno, cariñoso or cariñosa, affectionate, cómico or cómica, conservador. So you have all these different adjetivos. I want you to write one sentence about what you're like and one sentence with yo soy. And then, like I said, yo soy inteligente. And then one sentence about what you're not like. No soy perezosa, I said. So you will be now introduced to AR verbs in Spanish. And basically, we need to know that in Spanish, there are 3 families of verbs. You have verbs, and when I say verbs, I mean action words like to help, to dance, to look for. You always have the word to before the action, to walk, to clean. If you see an AR on the end of the verb, we know that it's an AR verb. There are also some verbs that are ER verbs. So, for example, we could have words like comer, to eat, or escribir, to write. So basically in Spanish, we have 3 families of verbs. And the 3 families are, and I would take notes on this, AR verbs, so verbs that end in AR like hablar, that's one. And then we also have ER verbs, verbs that end in ER like comer. And then we also have IR verbs, or words that end in IR, like escribir. So you're just going to notice that you're going to see those endings when you have those verbs. So we have ER, AR, ER, and IR verbs. Escribir is to write. So that's always the infinitive form. So when we say infinitive, we're saying that this is the unconjugated verb. We haven't changed it to I speak, you speak, we speak. It's just the infinitive. So we're going to go into AR verbs today. So basically the verb hablar, what I'm going to ask is that you always draw your little 6-pack like this, because that's how we conjugate a verb. We're always usually saying hablar, we'll put the verb on top. Hablar is to speak. But now what we have to do is we have to break it down into the subject pronouns. So I speak, you speak, he speaks. So the first way that we're going to do that is we're going to take off our AR. So we're going to be left with habl. And we can say yo if we want to. We don't have to. So we're ending up with yo habl. So now what we're going to do is put our ending on. For yo, it's always an O for AR verbs. So yo hablo means I speak. It also means I am speaking, or I do speak. So those are the 3 conjugations for the yo form. So this is considered to be your first person, and then we're going into second person and third person. So now we're into second person singular, and that's going to be the to form. So we'll just write the word to there. And we're still taking what we chopped off. We had our AR there, but we chopped it off, and we're left with habl. And the ending for the to form for an AR verb is AS. So anytime you have an AR verb and you want to change it to you, you can just take off your infinitive and add AS. Some are irregular in Spanish, but for the most part, there are many regular verbs. Then we need to put the subject pronouns él or ella or usted. Usted is you formal for the third person, because it could be so many different people. We do have to identify the subject pronoun. And for that one, we're still taking our infinitive, our stem. We call it a stem after we take off the AR. And then we're going to add our ending, and that's going to be an A. So anytime you have an AR verb and you want to say he or she or you, we're just going to add an A. Then we're going over to the plural. So I plus somebody else becomes we or nosotros. So we're going to take our stem, which is the same. So all of these are going to have the same stem. The endings are just going to be what's different. And so then we have AMOS, And this is nosotros. And again, we can put the nosotros in there, but we don't have to because the amos indicates that it's we. So we don't really need it. It's already implied with the amos. So hablamos is we speak. And él, ella, usted, this is he or she or you formal speaks. And tú hablas is you speak. And you, that's the informal. So if you're talking to somebody like your own age, for example. Then we have vosotros, and that's not necessary. Vosotros, and we have A, B. We're putting our stem, like the same as the rest of them. And then we're adding our ending with an accent. We have AIS, habláis. So I can say vosotros habláis español. And then down here we have ellos and ellas and ustedes. So remember, vosotros habláis is going to be y'all speak, like you plus somebody else, which would be you guys or y'all. And then we have ellos, ellas, ustedes. And we're going to take our stem. And our stem, again, is when we take off our AR, we're left with habl. And then we're going to add our AN ending for ellos. So this is the conjugation for they, male and female, or you guys. So which verbs should you concentrate on for this chapter? So you have all of these verbs here that end in AR. Tomar café, to drink coffee. Regresar, to return. Ayudar, bailar, to dance. So you do have to copy these down. Part of your practice for tonight on Blackboard is you're going to go and you will be identifying those verbs. So in your learning module for this week for 5, you have to go in and you have to identify the meanings. So you're just going to write them in there for me and say what they mean. So to help, to dance, and go through the verb list. So you can use your mind tap to help you identify those verbs. So now you can use those verb conjugations that you just wrote down because we want to look at some sentences here. So if we know that the verb, so we're looking here at numero uno, it says yo, and we know that we're using the verb mirar. Mirar is to watch. So mirar is just another example of a AR verb. And so we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take off our AR, and then we're going to be left with mir, and we're going to say miro, I watch. Miras, you watch. Mira, he or she watches. And I'm just taking that AR off and putting the endings. We have o, as, a, amos, ais, an. And then we have miramos, we watch. Mirais, y'all watch. Or miran, they watch. And usually we're going to have our subjects ellos or ella, she watches, just so that we know who those third persons are. So what we want to do is we want to take a look at these sentences. So when I have yo, would it make more sense to say yo miro la tele mucho or yo miran la tele mucho? So in that case, you should have chosen yo miro la televisión mucho because we just learned that the O ending is for yo. So that would make more sense. It has to match. And then número dos says mis padres. So mis padres is an example of a group of people. So that's going to be like ellos or they. So for mis padres, would we say mis padres manejamos un auto nuevo or mis padres manejan un auto nuevo? And in this case, manejar is to drive. That's another example of an AR verb, manejar. And again, we're going to be taking off our AR ending. We're going to be left with manej. And we have to decide which one would be the best. So, mis padres, is it manejamos un auto nuevo or manejan? In this case, it would have been manejan, the AN, because mis padres is like ellos, and that's the ending for ellos. Mi esposo. So here we're saying my spouse or my husband. Which subject pronoun is my spouse like? Is it yo? Is it tú? Is it él, ella, usted? Is it nosotros, vosotros, or ellos or ellas? It's actually like él because it's he or my spouse, one man. So we're going to use our A ending for that. And so for that one, mi esposo, is it baila bien or bailo bien? In that case, it would be baila bien because it's he dances. Bailo bien is I dance. That O ending is always for I. Then we have mi hermana y yo. So remember what I said before is yo plus anybody else becomes nosotros. So I plus my friend or I plus my boyfriend or whoever is going to be we or nosotros. So for this case, we want mi hermana y yo. Is it tomamos mucho café or toman mucho café? We know that the AMOS ending is for nosotros. So it would be mi hermano y yo, mi hermana y yo tomamos mucho café. Next, we have tú, you. We want to say you study a lot. So what would it be? Remember, for the tú form, we have the as ending. So it's going to be tú estudia mucho or tú estudias mucho. In this case, it would be tú estudias mucho. You guys are going to be doing some paragraphs too. So if we look at this paragraph here, we have the verb ser. And ser is the one we started the chapter capítulo 1 with. Remember, yo soy, tú eres, él es, nosotros somos, vosotros, you guys sois, or ellos, they son. So for yo, we want to put the ser form of yo. So if you could just put that in your notes, if you could just put it in the Edpuzzle. So for yo, it should be yo soy Gabriela. Yo soy Gabriela. I am Gabriela. So now where it says mi esposo se llama Nicolás y él, and then we're using the verb trabajar to work en un hospital. So remember, the first thing we have to do is we have to take off our AR. So that's what we're left with. And then we have to put the ending for Nicolás or él. In this case, it would be trabaja, he works. That's our A ending. Now we have él, again, he. And the verb is pasar. We're going to take off that AR. It says, el pasar mucho tiempo en el trabajo. He spends a lot of time at work. So when we chopped up that AR, now we have to put our ending in for él. And for an AR verb, it's A. So it's él pasa mucho tiempo en el trabajo. Now the subject, the pronoun is changing. It says nuestros dos hijos, Dora y Ernesto. So our two children, Dora y Ernesto, they want to say that they study in la universidad. So first we're going to do is take off our AR. We want to add the ending for Dora y Ernesto, which is the same as ellos. So what would that be? Should be AN. So estudian en la universidad. Mi esposo necesita. So here we're saying my husband needs to work. We're not saying my husband works. So because we have the to work translation, we are going to leave the infinitive. So necesita trabajar. He needs to work. When we have two verbs together, like we have he needs already conjugated, that trabajar, that second verb, is going to stay in the infinitive. It's not conjugated. We don't have to take off the AR. We're just going to leave it as to work. Pero nosotros, but we, siempre, always. Now we want to take, estudian. We want to take this verb tomar and we want to conjugate it according to nosotros. We take vacaciones en junio. So we're going to take off our AR. We want to add the nosotros ending. What would that be? Should be tomamos. We take vacaciones en junio. Then we have la familia, the family. One family, singular. So we're going to use the third person singular. We're using the verb viajar. We're going to take off our AR. What's our ending for mi familia for one singular third person? Viaja a Bariloche, Argentina. Y nosotros, there's our subject. We have nosotros, we. Now we want to change esquiar according to nosotros. We take off our AR. We're left with esquí. We have to add our ending for nosotros, which is AMOS. Nosotros esquiamos. Now it's changing to yo. Now it's saying I. Yo no. She's trying to say I do not ski well. Yo no. And then we're going to take off our AR. What is our ending for the yo form for an AR verb? That's going to be o. Yo no esquío muy bien, pero es muy divertido. And we do need to add an accent on esquío in that case. So here's a little example of how you conjugate a verb in Spanish. You really need to know your endings. So make sure that you do understand that your endings for an AR verb, your endings are going to be o, and then as, and then a. That's our singular. We have I and you and he or she or you formal. And then we have we, nosotros. We have ais for y'all or vosotros. And then we have an for ellos. So once you decide what is your verb, so say that we have the verb viajar, to travel, we know we're going to take off our AR and we're just going to plug in the endings. To say I travel, it's going to be viajo, I travel. To say you travel, we're going to put in our stem, viajas. We're just going to plug in our via for all of them. Viaja, he or she travels. Viajamos, we travel. Viajáis, y'all travel. Or viajan, they travel, or you guys travel. So this is what you'll be working on with your mind tap this week. And you would just have to, again, identify your verbs and then do your practices. And we will do more in class on Tuesday with conjugations. Muchas gracias, clase.